I'm also moved by it.
Yes. Yes, tell me about that. What moves you?
You talking to me?
Hi, and welcome back to the Pretentious Film Bros podcast, where it is our mission to break down stereotypes and build connections through film. My name is Brady Odom, and I'm joined here with my co-host Nolan Jones. And for this episode, we wanted to keep it a little bit more chill, a little bit more relaxed, kind of like some other conversations we've had in the past. But we're going to be talking about movies we love to rewatch. Sometimes you can watch a really good movie and it can be 5 stars immediate. You finish it, you log on your Letterboxd and you put in that 5-star rating and you put the heart next to it and you're telling everybody else you need to go watch this movie. And other times, you watch the movie, maybe it's not even your favorite movie you've ever seen, but it like sticks in the back of your mind. You're like, I gotta go rewatch that. And then eventually it becomes a favorite. And sometimes those 5-star movies that you just watched, they're really, really good, but maybe you don't like go back and rewatch them as much as maybe other people would. For example, one we just talked about here not too long ago that I would never blame anybody for not rewatching all that often is Schindler's List. That's not a movie, although it is an unbelievable work of art, a masterpiece. It is not one you can just go back to and turn on when you're sick. It's not one you are having a movie night with the friends and everybody's maybe had a little bit to drink and you're like, hey, let's turn on Schindler's List. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's ever done that. So hopefully
it'd be a great drinking game movie.
It would be, and it would be one where hopefully you drink enough. Because that movie is hard to get through sober. Can't imagine any other way. So yeah, we just wanted to kind of talk about like movies that we love to rewatch, movies that we can turn on at any point, at any time in our lives, whether we're happy, sad, the weather outside is raining or it's sunny, we are stressed or we're relaxed. Just movies we can always grab, turn on, and they're all reliable, right? Just movies that we never get tired of, movies that never get old. So we just wanted to talk about a couple of those. And on top of that, we wanted to talk about different movies we might show others. Like whether they be in this sort of crowd or in this sort of crowd, movies that you can pick and choose from. And if you watch movies regularly, and maybe I'm not the only one, but you have that like paralyzing feeling whenever you're going to get to pick a movie, but you're trying to show a crowd of people or you're trying to just show one person, and you're just so determined to make it the best movie you can for that moment at that time so they know you have taste. And that's really all it is, right? And you might be worried about what the other person's going to think about the movie, what this, crowd is going to be feeling in this moment. Is it a serious, somber night, or is it more of an exciting, like action-packed night? So you have to feel it out, and sometimes that can take forever, but they're fine. And it's always a good time to find that movie in that perfect moment where you're like, this is it. This is the one we're going to watch. And you know when it hits and you know when it doesn't. But Nolan, why don't you go ahead and start us off with a couple of rewatches that you can spend as much time on them as you want. I mean, they're some of our favorite films, right?
Right.
We love flaws and all. We love these movies, and they're just ones we can turn on at any point. So why don't you name a couple, and then I'll go after you, and I'll talk about a few.
Sounds great. Yeah, so as I was kind of thinking and preparing for this discussion, it's really interesting because there are some movies that are maybe in my top favorite movies of all time that actually may not be included in this list just because they're ones that I don't rewatch all the time. I might rewatch it every 3 years or every so often, or I'll turn it on and watch half of it when I've got an hour to kill. So those kinds of movies are actually not on this list, but then there's some on this list that they are all-time favorites. And I do watch them every year. And that's kind of the framework I went at as I looked at this list. I was like, is this a movie that I at least watch every other year? Many of these are movies that I watch every year. But I wanted to at least kind of keep that parameter to keep it focused. So there's movies that may be some of my favorite movies of all time that won't actually be kind of in this discussion tonight. And one example of those would be like Lilo and Stitch. I think it's one of the greatest animated movies of all time, the 2002 animated, not the live action that came out last year. I'm a little bit of a purist in that.
That would be a definite,
when it comes to classic Disney.
That'd be a hot take.
It wasn't bad, but I am a purist. But movies such as like Lilo and Stitch won't be on this list because it's not one that I watch every year, even though I would say it's probably a top 10 movie for me, period, across the board. It was so crucial to my childhood and growing up as a little boy. But anyways, I'll go ahead and I'll get started. And I've got several different stacks of movies here as I'm looking. I'm going to just kind of mix them all up. Some of them are seasonal films that I watch every certain time of year. Some of them are just favorite films that as I looked on Letterboxd, I was like, oh, I've seen this movie 4 times in the past 5 years. So this one gets to go on the list. But I'm going to start with one that's actually one of my wife's favorite movies. And that's the reason why I watch it all the time. It's one of her comfort movies. It'll be obvious to you, Brady, when I show it why. But it is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah.
With Nick Cage playing Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal playing an obsessed Nicolas Cage fan. So those Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal are just 2 of her favorite actors, period. Nick Cage is kind of like that weird grandpa or not grandpa, but uncle that everybody's really not sure what to do with because he's a little crazy, but he's also always good for a good time. And then Pedro Pascal is just one of her actor crushes that she just loves him. She sees everything he's in. So Massive Talent was a big win for her, which means that I've seen this movie many times since we first saw it. And I believe she saw this movie probably 3 or 4 times last year.
Wow.
So sometimes I catch it in bits and pieces. It's one of those movies that if it's on and it's on for no reason, I'm like, oh, she's having a rough day. She needed some Nick Cage in her life today. But because of those reasons, I've seen this movie a lot. And this is a great movie. Like, it's not even that it's one that's, oh man, this one again. This is a great movie. And this is really a great movie if you're a pretentious film snob, as I am, as you, Brady, I would say, are as well. I mean, we are the Pretentious Film Bros.
Yeah.
Because one of the things about this movie is Nick Cage is a super pretentious film snob. And his daughter in the film, she's not. And it comes out revealed later in the movie that Pedro Pascal is also a pretentious film snob, yet one of his favorite movies of all time is not a pretentious movie. And that's kind of the beauty about Massive Talent is it says, watch the pretentious movies, but don't neglect the popular films or the film bro movies. Share your pretentious films with your friends, but don't snub up your nose at the ones that they watch that maybe you would consider popcorn flicks or child's play or not quite as good, because the movies people love tell you a lot about who they are. And that's really what I love the most about Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. So yeah, that was a lot more than I planned on talking about that film. So we're gonna move on to a couple more, and I'm gonna do some that I've talked about on this podcast before already, so they're really easy. Pieces of April. It's one of my favorite films ever. It's one of the few Thanksgiving films that I know of in existence. So every time Thanksgiving comes around, we pop this movie in. I love it. Yeah, I've talked about this one before on the channel. We talked about this in our fall favorites episode. So it's just, I gotta have it every year. It's a staple, like cranberry sauce out of the can and a dried to death turkey. It's just a Thanksgiving staple. And then another one, again, for the time of year that I've talked about on this film before is V for Vendetta. This is a 5th of November annual rewatch. It's one that has gotten better every time I've seen it. In the most recent rewatch, I decided, yep, this movie's a 5-star. It's absolutely perfect. It challenges my thinking every time I watch it. It only gets more relevant and more important. So it's one that I'm happy to rewatch every 5th of November. So that's going to be my first 3. And Brady, what do you got? What's first up on your dock?
Take it from here. Yeah. So I think like you, and I think like a lot of people, it's kind of nice when you find that movie like V for Vendetta. Like, it gives you an actual, like, this is the date you need to watch it. right? And it's
Right.
like, if you're not watching it on this date, like if you're watching V for Vendetta in March or something, like it feels wrong. It feels like
Mhm.
this should be watched when it takes place, right? And of course,
Right.
we'll do that every year with Christmas movies, right? Everybody rewatches Home Alone. Everybody rewatches A Christmas Story, or they rewatch It's a Wonderful Life, including myself. Like, those are movies you're going to see at that time of year being rewatched more often. And so I think that when I was kind of preparing, just looking over what do I usually rewatch, I did consider like seasonal changes. I did consider the time of year and why I'm rewatching it. And so for some of mine, I'm going to start with one that is maybe not, doesn't jump to your mind immediately as like a Halloween time film, but that is The Batman. And that is Robert Pattinson's The Batman, Matt Reeves' The Batman. That came out in, I believe it was 2022. And it
Mhm.
might have been 21, but I think it was 22.
I think it was 22.
And the opening lines are Thursday, October 31st. And so obviously it gives you that feeling of, oh, it's Halloween, right? Like this is when it takes place. And if I'm not mistaken, this past year when I rewatched it, I actually believe it was Thursday, October 31st. I believe Halloween was on a Thursday this past year.
May
And
have been.
and for us, me and my brother, we decided that that would be the movie we'd watch on Halloween night. We'd seen the other ones that we usually rewatch, but The Batman is a great, grimy comic book, saturated, just dripping in atmosphere kind of movie. With I believe it's Greg Fraser is the cinematographer, and he does a fantastic job bringing that comic book feel to life. So The Batman is one of those rewatches that it's not one I thought I saw as many times as I did in theaters, but I saw it 3 times in theaters, uh,
Wow.
which I've not seen a lot of movies that many times in theaters. And so it is becoming one of my favorite comic book movies. It is my favorite Batman movie, maybe hot take over Michael Keaton or The Dark Knight.
Very hot take.
But I do think that this Batman movie is the most satisfying across the board and makes the most sense at that time of year to watch it. So it is a rewatch around that time of year. Another one will kind of stay in that same lane in that time of year, so to speak. We'll say Coraline is one that I love to watch
Mhm.
around that time. Coraline's great because you don't have to watch it at Halloween time. You can watch it anytime in the cold. You could watch it now because if it's gloomy, if it's rainy outside, if it's very atmospheric, you could definitely turn that on and have a good time with it. It also just happens to be one of those movies that I first watched when I was a child that has only gotten better as I've gotten older. This feeling of grass is always greener on the other side, except it's really not. And when the truth
Nope.
is revealed to you, you realize that contentment really isn't all that bad, you know? And excuse me, I feel like that for Coraline, it's one of those movies that it feels, and I've said this about other movies, but it kind of feels like a magic trick how incredibly well put together this movie is, how it's able to appeal to a variety of audiences, how I'm able to like it as much now, if not more, than I did when I initially saw it. And it's one of those movies I can't wait to show my kids as they get, to that age where they're, because if they're my kid, they're going to like scary movies. They're not really going to have a choice. And so this movie is a great gateway movie into scary movies because it's not all the way horrifying, but it definitely has those weird, gothic, creepy elements to it that Henry Selick was able to bring to life in such a cool way. And for this next one, we'll jump out of there and we'll jump to the summertime. And one movie that I love to rewatch during the summertime, although I believe I've actually seen it now twice in December, is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And that is my favorite Tarantino movie. It's his funniest, in my opinion. I think it's his. I think it's the best movie he's ever made. I know some people would say Pulp Fiction or Django or Inglorious or all of these other options, and I think those are all great options. I love all those movies. I think they're all great, but I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is kind of by itself. I think it's in a lane all on its own. And I know we kind of vary on opinion on that one, but I do believe that. And I do think that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood defenders are real, but I do think that they are fewer and farther between. I do think most people would agree that Pulp Fiction is a better movie, but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is one of those movies that's just so relaxed. It's so easy to watch, but yet you get to the last 30 minutes and it's an adrenaline rush, and it is just peak cinema. And seeing that in theaters and getting to show other people, which we might talk about that in a little bit later too, watching the reactions and hearing the laughs over gratuitous violence is what Tarantino was put on this earth to do. And despite your opinion on him as a person or as, a critique or a critic of, other actors' works, Paul Dano, Owen Wilson, Matthew Lillard, he does make a pretty good movie, and he does understand pretty good acting. And so I would say that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, to round up my three for now, is one of my favorite rewatches.
Yeah, great movies. Once Upon a Time is one where we differ a little bit, but not so much. I appreciate it. It's one that probably even needs a rewatch. It's one of the Tarantino movies I've only seen once. I'm definitely in the crowd, the Django Bastards crowd. Pulp Fiction is, again, one I've seen once. It's one that might get me in trouble, but I think it's a little overrated. But Django is my favorite, and Inglourious Bastards is definitely, I think, just Tarantino at his absolute best. And then, of course, you've got Kill Bill, and that might be Tarantino at his most who he is. So I'm sure we'll get to some of those later. But yeah, all great picks. So you set me up pretty nicely. I'm going to kind of follow suit with you. I'll give some animation, give a little bit of Halloween time type movies in my next three. So the next one I'm going to do is, this one was obvious. I'm taking it first. I'm sure it's on your list.
Yeah.
It's Scream.
Mm-hmm.
We just put out a whole episode where we talked for 3 hours about Scream and the Scream franchise. But this is a movie that I have watched every single year without fail since we first watched it together. And it's one that for the past 2 years, my wife and I have watched in early October. Kind of become an October tradition. It's one of those movies that is strangely one of the most comforting films that I watch. By this point, after 5-6 watches now, this has become a great comfort film. These characters have just become part of... It's like I've watched this film my whole life. And I know you have watched this film your whole life. But even just me watching it for the first time in 2022, this feels like it's been with me forever. So Scream and the sequels they'll always be on the list. But for me, this is the one that every year, even if we don't get into all the sequels, the original Scream is one that's a must. It's just part of it now. Another one that I was actually surprised by how many times I've seen this, but when I looked, I've seen it again almost every year without fail. It shouldn't be that big of a surprise. It's my favorite Tim Burton film, and that is Corpse Bride.
Yep.
I've talked about this movie before, even on the channel, I believe, so I won't go crazy with it, beat it to death. I think this movie's beautiful. I think the animation style, the stop motion is at its peak. It is one that I've only fallen more and more in love with upon every rewatch. I think the heart behind this movie, the message, what it says about relationships and about marriage specifically, I don't think there's a more honest film about marriage and particularly engagement, because it ends kind of with the marriage. So it's about the relationship building up to the wedding day and just what makes a good relationship and a good marriage. And it's so funny to me that a movie about dancing skeletons and a head that moves about by cockroaches is one of the most honest and true films about marriage that I've ever seen. And then going into summertime, you mentioned the summer. There's one that I have to watch almost every year. I've missed a year or two here and there. But when school's out, Dazed and Confused is in. This is
Also,
one of Linklater's just most chill movies. This is one of the most chill movies probably ever made.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's about a bunch of high schoolers, freshmen just coming into freshman year of high school, seniors, they're just graduating, and it's the last day of school, school's out, and it's a night that they'll never forget. If only they could remember it.
Mm.
And it's just, this is a wonderful film. It is so comforting. It is essential to me for the last day of school as somebody who's been out of school since 2022 and out of high school since 2015. This is just, it's a movie about getting together with your friends, hanging out, living like there's no tomorrow. And it's just great. It's one that's gone up for me up until it was like, yeah, this movie's perfect. And even if you don't think it's a perfect film, one, give it one more rewatch. All the things that seem imperfect will finally click for you. But two, you will not find a film with a more banging soundtrack.
No, you won't.
So if you've not seen Dazed and Confused, this is coming out in February. You've got plenty of time until May. Get yourself a copy somewhere around that May 20th, May 19th, whenever school's getting out. Pop this in, especially if you've got high schoolers. Sit down and watch this with a high schooler coming into their freshman year or leaving their senior year. There's nothing really more timely for that stage of life than Linklater's Dazed and Confused.
Yep, that was also on my list, Dazed and Confused. And also one of those movies, when I first watched it, I didn't love it. I didn't get it. I thought, wow, it's a film about nothing. And when you rewatch it, of course it is. But it's also about everything. It encapsulates every feeling that all of these different people are going through. Because it's about people. It's about goals and ambitions. And it's about fresh starts. And it's about renewal. And it's about just LIVIN. Like, that is... It is such a fantastic movie to rewatch. And that was one I had for sure around my like summertime feeling, like end of spring going into summer. Dazed and Confused is such a great movie. And I don't have this on my list, but movies that I have rewatched a number of times is also Linklater, the Before trilogy, which are also great movies to watch around that summertime, right? Where they take place all across the world. They take place in different, countries, but they're all like in that summertime feel, and they are beautiful movies about conversations and people, and kind of the same thing Dazed and Confused is, but it's all condensed into two people as opposed to a sprawling, cast of characters. And so Dazed and Confused, perfect pick.
Linklater, when he was at his best, he's always just telling stories about everyday people living everyday life.
And it's so entertaining. And it's one that I've got to show a number of people. And I remember I was showing my two friends when we were at this random time in our life. One was married, one was engaged, and I still didn't have anybody. I was still single, and I was like, we should watch this movie. And they came over, and I turned it on, and it was the second time that I had seen it, and the first time didn't really, I liked it enough. It was okay, but I just had a feeling. I was like, we need to watch this. I just bought it on Criterion because I thought the Criterion cover was cool. It's one of my favorite Criterion covers. And I was like, I need to turn this on. And when we sat there and we laughed and we laughed and we laughed, and it was such an enjoyable bonding experience with them. That makes the movie even more rewatchable for me, because it brings back those feelings and it brings back that nostalgia, and it's a nostalgic movie by design. And so to have that in your arsenal to pull up on any time, it might not be a crowd pleaser. You might get the people who want structure. You might get the people who want a plot.
Right.
But the people who are there for a good time, who are there to have a couple beers with you, who are there to just talk and chill, it's fantastic. So, yeah, sorry, I just had to talk about that one a little bit. Because
no, it's totally good. I figured it was one.
It's such a good movie, man.
Yeah, it is.
But yes, moving forward, one that I love to rewatch, and this is one that I'm happy to show people, but I don't have to. With Scream, as you kind of talked about, rewatching it. When I rewatch it, my goal is to rewatch Scream with people because I want to see the reactions, especially people who've not seen it before.
Right.
And with this movie, Carnival of Souls, which I've mentioned before, it's, I believe, better watched alone because it is a movie about a woman struggling with isolation and paranoia. And it's got this just guerrilla, grimy atmosphere throughout that is it's so intoxicating when you're watching it by yourself. You feel like you can place yourself in her shoes so easily. And I know people think it's an all right movie, and I understand. To anybody who thinks it's an all right movie, I think I just connect with it differently. And Carnival of Souls is one that it's got so many things that it makes you feel like you could go out and make it. It's got random people in horrible, like just like baby powder face. Like it's just and those are the ghouls. Those are the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I could do that. I could get somebody to powder up someone's face, and I could run around with a handheld camera. My phone, I could run around and make this movie. I could make little effects. Like I do, digital marketing for a living. I could take some time and opportunity to go out and make this for myself. It's one of those movies that it's not inspiring in the way maybe Steven Spielberg has inspired others. You're not going to, go out and try to make a model train set crash, but you might go out and just grab a group of people and make something happen. And every time I rewatch it, it's so weird because it's got the tone, it's got the atmosphere, and it just makes me want to do something like that. Like I can make an independent film like that. And I don't think it could ever be as good as that, but I do think I would try. So Carnival of Souls is a great rewatch for me. And one of the other ones that I watch every year at a certain time of year, we've talked about it before. I took it first in our fall draft, and that was Fantastic Mr. Fox. And
I didn't even think about that one thinking about this conversation, and I don't know why.
yeah,
Totally slipped my mind.
it was meant for me to think about. So
It was.
I love watching this movie on Thanksgiving every year because it's just perfect orange color in Missouri. I don't know exactly what it looks like in Oklahoma at November 25th, but in Missouri, usually every year without fail, it is the most orange, brown, beautiful, just fall colors on the trees. They're at their peak. They're getting to that point all through November, and then at the end of November, they're perfect. And so the vibe it's unmatched. You can't watch it at a better time of year. It's heartwarming. It is also a very honest story about marriage in a very different way than The Corpse Bride is, but one that is all true just the same, And yeah, Fantastic Mr. Fox, a movie you could show your kids and they'll find something to love about it. And a movie you could show your parents and they'll find something to love about it. And it's safe, it's harmless, it's like a cup of cocoa. It's like a cup of hot tea. It's perfect.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I don't know how that slipped my mind because I've been even thinking about that film a lot recently. Just the whole idea of Mr. Fox. I think of that scene where he's like, I'm 7 Fox years old. My dad died at 7.5. I don't want to live in a hole anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm poor. And his wife goes, well, we are poor. So I can't believe that movie slipped my mind because that moment, even in particular recently, that's more than anybody on the internet really cares to know. But it's just kind of been playing in my mind. But I'm so glad you remembered it. Of course you did. Mm-hmm. It's one of your tentpole films. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you picked it up because it totally just slipped my mind. So the next one that I'm going to do, we've mentioned this movie briefly on this podcast. We've never really taken the time to talk about it. It is still a blind spot for you, Brady, that maybe we'll be able to remedy here in the next couple of months. But it is Rob Reiner's When Harry Met Sally. And this movie is just, for somebody that had seen it the first time in, I believe it was probably 2023-ish, was the first time I ever saw this film. This is another one that feels like it's been with me my whole life. This is a film that has become so fundamental to the way that I view relationships and to the ways that I understand love in a lot of ways. It's a movie that came in at a perfect time in my life. I needed it. I needed the message of When Harry Met Sally. I needed that sometimes you just miss your ex moment that Harry and Sally have together. I needed that men and women can't be friends because sex always gets in the way. This film is just, it was one that came at a perfect time in my life when I needed what it had to say. And it has shaped who I am and what I believe about relationships in some pretty profound ways that, again, it feels like it's one that's just been with me my whole life. And it's a great, we usually watch it around February as a Valentine's Day movie. Of course, if you time this movie just right, you can have, it's a great New Year's watch. That's all I'm going to say. I'm sure you probably know about this movie because everybody knows about this movie. But I don't want to ruin the movie for you. But this is one that people regularly watch around New Year's. And it's great for that. It's great for February just because it's an amazing rom-com. I think it's the best romantic comedy ever made. Of course, I don't know how many people are going to argue with that because it's Rob Reiner. It's one of the definitive filmmakers of the 80s and the 90s. But to me, When Harry Met Sally is just, it's a staple. It's at least a bi-yearly watch, if not a yearly watch. So it had to be just included in this discussion. And I can't wait for you to watch this movie. Also another great full-time watch because you've got New York in autumn. Lots of beautiful oranges and golds and reds. So you can throw that movie on anytime. It fits a variety of times throughout the years. But yeah, When Harry Met Sally, totally fundamental for me in a regular rewatch. And now, I tried not to do this, but I did it anyways. I'm kind of left with the Christmas time and spooky season time movies. So I'm going to try to keep them somewhat mixed up. And I'm going to go with a movie that I've been watching since I was a kid. Watched this growing up as a kid, probably on VHS at my grandparents' house. That is Tim Burton's, which is actually Henry Selick's, but Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. And I know there's always the debate with this movie. Is it a Christmas? Is it a Halloween? One, let's settle it here. You can watch it for both. It perfectly fits both. My wife and I, we always watch this around Halloween. Not because we think it's a Halloween movie. It actually leans more into the Christmas season than it does Halloween. It's just when Christmas comes around, there's so many Christmas movies to watch. It's what happens when you marry a Christmas elf. That really October, Halloween, spooky season time is really the best time for us to watch this movie. And we've watched it every year that we've been together. It's probably one we'll continue to watch every year. It's one that our kids will likely grow up on, just the way I did when I was a child. So Tim Burton, Henry Selick's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
No, that's a fantastic movie. I didn't watch it until I was older. That was not one I grew up on. My parents, I don't think they had anything necessarily against it. We just never had it on in our house. And so we had the more typical Christmas movies, like National Lampoons, like Home Alone, Elf. Like we had those Christmas movies on all the time. We never really watched The Nightmare Before Christmas. But when I did as I got older, I realized that it's a fantastic. I prefer it as a Christmas watch as opposed to a Halloween watch.
Right.
I do think that it can be watched for both, though. It's effectively used for both. So, yeah, I think that's a great rewatch pick. My final three that I'm going to talk about jump all around. We'll start with one that I feel like is a pretty obvious rewatch, and that's Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. And that was one that changed my perspective at a very like early budding cinephile movie watcher age. That was one of those that I watched that changed my perspective on movies. Carnival of Souls is one of them. Halloween is maybe that one is the second most important one I've ever rewatched. And that is mainly just due to the fact that I love the simplicity of the horror in that movie. There's no gore. It's not even truly psychological. It is physical terror. It is something that is happening down the street from you. And it doesn't mess with you like The Shining does. It doesn't get under your skin like Hereditary. It doesn't really like come at you in a like loud and obnoxious way. It just moves. And The Shape is one of the scariest villains ever put to screen. And I believe that even if Halloween 1, 1978 Halloween was the only Halloween ever made, I think that I wish it kind of was sometimes. But I do believe that it's just one of the best guerrilla style. They made a movie about Halloween in the middle of the summer where they had to use gourds as pumpkins, where the mask was an accident, where it's their continuity errors were like almost unavoidable just due to what they were going through, and they still made one of the most talked about movies of all time. And it's perfect because you can watch it every Halloween. You can watch it every year around that time, and it for me never fails to entertain. The next one I'm going to talk about is one that I've rewatched a number of times. It's been maybe 2 years since I've rewatched it last. Um, about a year and a half. But one movie that I love to rewatch is La La Land, and that checks off my summer musical. Pretentious box. If I need to get diversity, that checks that one off, right? So La La Land is a fantastic movie from top to bottom. You have performances that are astounding. You have set pieces that are incredible. You have the music is actually pretty good. And for someone who doesn't always love music,
Pretty good.
it I mean,
You take that back.
yeah, it's
Pretty good.
they're fantastic songs, right? They have great chemistry. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, and it is just one of those movies that I can show just about anybody, and most people are going to like it. They'll probably hate the ending, but they will probably love the movie. And it's easy. It's pretentious and it's popcorn. It's one of those movies you can put on and it's like it's going to entertain the masses. But there's subtext. There's things underneath. There's impressive film techniques being at play there. And so La La Land's a fantastic movie to rewatch, especially in the summertime. And it was great for me when I wanted to move to LA to just write and give up everything that was around me and just try to pursue a dream of writing in a rundown LA apartment. And I'm very thankful I didn't do that, by the way, but it was one that I wanted to be there. I wanted to live that life and try to make it. Um, but yeah, and I still stand to this day. I think seeing Seb's in neon lights is one of the most heartbreaking images put to screen. And I think that they nailed it. And so Damien Chazelle's, follow up to Whiplash, he knocked it out of the park. And the last one I'm going to talk about, because we can talk about rewatches for the end of time, and we'll talk about plenty of other movies we have rewatched, but are more excited to show a certain crowd of people. But
Right.
I would be remiss if I didn't talk about. I'll actually lump into because I have to lump into. I'm going to talk about Columbus. And that's a Kogonada film that it's his debut feature. It's one that you love equally as much as me. One that I had the pleasure of showing you that it was one of my favorite films I ever got to show you. And I, from the first time I watched it, I realized there was something special about that movie. And Kogonada finds this line of being accessible, being pretentious, being kind, being soft, being funny, and being comforting. And it's one of the very few that you can leave. You cry at the end of the movie, but not because you're sad. And you don't cry because you're relieved it's over. You cry because there is an element of truth and an element of hopefulness by the time this movie ends. And it's one that I've seen a number of times that I could truly turn on at any point in my life and rewatch it and be just as satisfied with it as I was the first time I saw it. And the last one I'll name is a movie that it's so basic, but that's okay. I am a basic boy sometimes, but it is one that when I watched it for the first time, it changed my perspective on how every element of the filmmaking makes the film. It's not the story. It's not just the acting. It's not where the camera's placed. It's the lighting. It's the tone. It's the jokes. It's the editing. It's everything coming together. And that is all influencing how the movie is going to be. And that is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And
I knew it.
That is one that I would argue you kind of have to rewatch. Because if you follow everything on the first watch, you're pretty impressive because there is so much. It took me, I think, 2 watches to realize the story is actually not as complicated as I initially thought. And when I realized that, that's just the beginning. Oh, that's just the end. Okay. I'm following now. I thought it was multiple timelines, multiple things happening. I thought it was all this, all that. And I was like, oh no, it just is. It evokes that feeling, but it's not actually doing that thing. And every time you rewatch it, you get to enjoy a new aspect of it. You get to enjoy a new editing trick that you missed the first time. Like when he's walking around and he's holding the Chinese food box, and when he comes back in front of the TV, it shows his body on the TV. And it's like, oh, I didn't see that the first time, right? Or you have so many other little Easter eggs that Charlie Kaufman and Michel Gondry are just really good at placing. And I got to read the script, and the script is kind of Charlie Kaufman's just one of those writers that is one of a kind. He's like a David Lynch in his own world, kind of surreal, dreamlike writing brain. I mean, Adaptation is one of those that I don't know if you've got to see that one yet.
Not yet, no.
That's one of those that is just kind of like Nick Cage being Charlie Kaufman. And it is, I don't even know how to explain it. Truly a master work of filmmaking. But yeah, so Eternal Sunshine is that movie I love to rewatch, whether I be by myself or I show someone else. It's one that it gets better every time. And even if it didn't, it'd still be a masterpiece, in my opinion. I think it's one of the best movies ever made. And I would have it sit confidently in my Letterboxd top 4. So there's a wrap up of my rewatches for now. But
yeah, there's no surprise with any of those. I knew where you were going to end the second you started talking about it. So I'm going to go ahead and I wanted to just touch on La La Land, because while that's not one that I've rewatched regularly, it's actually one that I had to rewatch several times, and then also get to a certain event stage in life to really appreciate this film. Because I remember the first time I watched it was in college. It was just one that was on, and there was a group of us hanging out, and this is the movie we watched. I hated it. This movie made me so mad by the end of it. As the film ends, I was like, no, this should have happened. This is not the right ending. They totally just messed it up. These people don't love each other. They ruined it. And then on the second time I watched it, I warmed up to it a little bit. I was like, okay, I don't love this movie, but I can appreciate it. I can appreciate the craft going into it. I can appreciate the story. It makes sense where it's ending. And then the third time I saw this movie, it was just after a breakup with the girlfriend before I would meet, who became my wife. And after watching it that third time, that's when the film really clicked for me. Mm. And that's probably the greatest thing. That's not the greatest thing. It's one of the greatest things that came as a result of that breakup. Was I understood La La Land, which seems so silly to say. But it took going through breaking up with the girl that I thought was the one, for lack of better phrase. It took that breakup and that relationship ending for me to understand how true La La Land is, and how genuine it is, and how heartfelt it is, and how healing and therapeutic the film is. It's another one that it finally came at that right time in life, for that film to hit me. And I will defend it now to the end of the age against anybody that's a naysayer of La La Land. I understand the naysayers. I understand the people that don't like it. They don't like the ending. They think it's a big psych. It's not a romance. Whatever they say about it. But that is one that finally, on the third viewing, it clicked from me. Enough life had happened for me to realize, this movie's perfect. It's absolutely what it needs to be. So since you brought it up, I wanted to just throw my 2 cents in on that movie, because that is one that, again, life happened at the right time for the movie to hit just the right way for me to really appreciate and to love and to understand what's happening in the film. It's heartbreaking.
Was that the one with us?
The what?
Was that watch the one at Steven's apartment with us?
I don't remember if it was or not. That might have been about the second watch. I think the third time I watched it by myself.
Okay.
I think is what it was. Okay. After I'd already come home from college, graduated, all that kind of stuff. But anyways, the last... Okay, I'll take it down to 3. And I wanted to pull up maybe some movies that I haven't talked about on the channel before, because there's several that I have. We talked a whole bunch about Black Christmas. We did a whole episode with Black Christmas. That's one that I love to watch every Christmas time. I watch it by myself, but it's okay because I gotta have it. It's a masterpiece, I think. So I've got 3 more that I'll throw out. 2 Christmas movies and then another. So the first one is The Santa Claus.
Okay.
Of course, if you grew up in the 90s, early 2000s, Tim Allen's Santa Claus was a staple for you. Or at least for many of you. This is one of my wife's favorite films. It is her favorite Christmas film, so we watch it every year. And I guess the really good thing is, I think it's pretty great too. Okay. I actually think all 3 of them are pretty enjoyable. I think The Santa Claus is an easy top 5 Christmas movie for me. Santa Claus 2, I think, is a way underrated sequel. And Santa Claus 3 is just a lot of fun. Okay. It's maybe the lesser of them, actually, but then you've got Jack Frost in Santa Claus 3. Like, you just don't get better than Martin Short playing Jack Frost.
Well,
so the Santa Claus is it's a staple in our home. It'll always be a staple in our home. Our kids will grow up quoting this movie. My wife already quotes this movie. When we turn it on, we can mute the movie, and she knows every single line. And then another Christmas staple that has become a staple that she introduced me to is Bill Murray's Scrooged.
How are you mentioning that one to me? I mean,
this to me is the pinnacle of Christmas Carol adaptations. Wow. And we've seen a lot of Christmas Carol adaptations. Granted, haven't seen them all, but again, that's a story that my wife loves. So we've seen a lot. We saw one last Christmas from 1939-ish. I don't know where she found it. I wish she would have left it there. Okay. It was terrible. It was so bad. But Scrooged is another one that every year since she first introduced me to it, this has just become a staple in our Christmas lineup. I think it is the greatest rendition of A Christmas Carol. I think the Ghost are maybe some of the best ghosts ever in a Christmas Carol movie. It's very much it's kind of a spoof on the Christmas Carol story, but it's also not a spoof in the same way that maybe like The Naked Gun or Austin Powers is a spoof of a spy movie. But it's definitely a comedic spoof interpretation of A Christmas Carol. And if you've not seen this one, it's fantastic. You definitely ought to put it on your list for next Christmas. And maybe, like it is in our house, it'll become a staple for you. And then the last one I'm going to do, I'm actually kind of surprised you didn't. Also really glad you didn't, because it's on my shirt, so I get to bring it up.
Yep.
But it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
And this is one of those movies that is a time of year movie. Mm-hmm. This is an August, September film. I believe it's actually August when the story takes place.
I think it's August 18th or something.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere around August 20th-ish. Yeah. So that's usually when I try to watch it. Also, usually miss it about that time of year. I always look the next day or two after, and I'm like, dadgummit, I missed it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of the finest horror movies ever made. I believe it's my number 2 after Scream when it comes to horror movies.
It would be my top 3 somewhere in that realm.
Yeah. This is one of the most disgusting films ever made that shows you absolutely nothing disgusting. You think it does, but then you rewatch it and you're like, you don't see anything. But the feelings of
blood. You don't like the most blood.
No, there's nothing.
Like at the very beginning, that's the most blood you see.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a off-putting scene, but it's not anywhere that seems like it should be scarier than what comes after. So
yeah, no, but this is just one that, again, is just a staple. It's one of the finest horror movies ever made. There's a reason why it's endured as long as it has, why Leatherface has endured and become the horror icon that he did. It's one of the greats. It's one of those movies that you think all these things about, and then you watch it and you're like, no. They made me feel disgusted, and they didn't show me anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's almost the birth of the slasher film. It's Tobe Hooper's masterpiece, easily. There's really not another film like it. And even the sequels knew that. Tobe Hooper knew when he made this movie. He had to know. Or maybe he didn't, but it feels like he knew there would never be another film like it because the sequel is so vastly different. But it is, when you talk about a movie that was made independently for nothing, that the cast and crew probably had no idea that 50 some years later now that this movie would be the cultural touchstone that it is. But yet here it is. It's survived and it's thrived, and horror fans love it. So this is definitely a summertime rewatch. Heat of the day. It's nasty. It's groggy. And that's a perfect time, like late August, early September, for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. And it is also a perfect movie. Like, I think that's something too. It's not just like enjoyable or entertaining or scary. It's perfect. It feels like every single thing works together so well for it to come to life. If it didn't look the way it did, it wouldn't be as scary. If it didn't sound the way it did, I mean, the very opening is so disorienting with just camera flashes and the zzz, like noise that comes after that just sounds like nails to a chalkboard. Like the acting is, especially from the family, is bewildering how he was able to, and apparently Tobe Hooper might have been a bit Kubrickian on set. The demand he would ask of these people who are not big name actors by any means, but they're
not actors.
Yeah, it's like
they're everyday people.
So you can maybe tell why they got to the point they did, but it is as a result has become one of those movies that most film people would say is one of the best horror films of all time.
And it really is. It is perfect. I mean, there's not a moment, there's not a sound, there's not an image, there's not there's nothing wasted in this film. Every single thing from the opening, even the opening voiceover, that really kind of sets the stage of the movie, to just every character, every set piece, every loose feather or hanging bone, whatever those things
I know
are
what you're
called.
talking about. Yep. No.
Yeah, every single piece of this film is used to perfection, and it's essential for creating that feeling that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre creates.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a great one to rewatch because you actually do catch more too, and it is very surprising because I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of times that you watch a movie, a scary movie, once you know what happens, it kind of takes away that feeling of dread. It takes away that feeling of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
That does not happen with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. When you, let's say you even stage strong for the majority of it, you get back to that dinner scene, you're thrown back into the throes of it. It is because of the immaculate editing that they do, the way they're able to frame people, the expressions on people's faces. I think Tobe Hooper really did something impressive by capturing the looks on people's faces in this movie. I think he really, either intentionally or unintentionally, did a really great job of making sure that a lot of people's eyes and a lot of people's mouths were distorted at a lot of times to just give you that funky feeling, that off-putting aesthetic that he's able to just inject into this film. So great pick. Love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. One that you can't show everybody. And you know what's crazy? What's crazy is, as scary as it is, again, it's not gory, but try telling anybody who's not seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not gory. They're not going to believe you. They're not going to, and they're going to be like, oh, what's next? Halloween doesn't take place on Halloween. Like, of course, it's like, it seems so obvious that it should be.
Yeah.
But it's not. And they actually did have to fight, even when they showed everything that they had to fight for an R rating as opposed to an NC-17 rating. So that it would be, so the distribution would be easier. But yeah, so anyway, great. So many great things about that movie, the making of it, bad things too. But yeah.
Just the last thing I wanted to throw in with this movie, the most recent time I rewatched it, because great movies, great rewatch movies, you learn something new every time you watch it. And the most recent time rewatching the Texas Chainsaw, I realized how funny it is.
Mm-hmm.
How just dark humor it is just soaked in the film. You've got the opening with the old man where he's like, everybody around here thinks I'm crazy because I laugh. It's he who laughs, it knows better. And then you've got Franklin where he's like, come on, Franklin, it'll be a fun. And I'm not mocking him, like, this is the way he says it. He's like, it's gonna be so much fun. You're gonna have a great time. If I have any more fun today, I won't be able to contain it. And you're like, this movie, for as gruesome as it makes you feel and as grimy as it is, it's so funny. Mm-hmm. And I didn't catch that the first time we watched it. I didn't catch it the second time. It took several rewatches for the humor that's in here really to click for me. Mm-hmm. And that's what's great about rewatchable movies, right? Yep. I know you've experienced that. You've talked about it with several that you've watched. It's just the more you rewatch those favorites that really have that rewatchability, the more you see something new every time you see it. Or you pick up on something that's always been there that you didn't realize, because now that you know what's happening, you know what to expect, you can kind of let your guard down a little bit. And you get to see those Easter eggs, or you get to see that touch of humor or that touch of sadness that maybe you didn't catch before. Mm-hmm. And that's really what, for me, makes a great rewatch film, is those beautiful things that you get to pick up on after the third or fourth or fifth rewatch.
No, I think that, the foreshadowing in Texas Chainsaw is also really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
where they drive past the cattle, right? And they discuss it. And it's like they're offended and disgusted. Franklin's not, but they're offended and disgusted by how they kill the cows.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that they're cattle being led to their slaughter. And they're on their way to be killed in that same, but experience that same fate of the cows. And I don't know this is one thing that was like very interesting to me on this rewatch. I didn't realize we'd be talking about Texas Chainsaw so long, but
I didn't either, but I'm good for it.
But there's two things I caught. One, there's a lot of cars there.
Mm-hmm.
That's just gross, because you then start to realize, yep, this is not their first time. And obviously when you see the house, you see the elements of that. But when you see the cars seem harmless, because especially in towns like Texas and those places in Texas, or towns here even in the Midwest or in Oklahoma, it's like seeing a junkyard at somebody's house is not immediately off-putting, right? And that's what's so gross about it, is that when you're watching it the first time, that's not off-putting to you. Maybe the eerie atmosphere is, but you don't think about the cars. But then you rewatch and you're like, oh, that's disgusting. But this time, there are no pigs in this movie.
Mm-mm.
But there are squeals. There are oinks. There are moments where you hear the pigs. And just adding that element of sound design for something we don't even see, just to add to that, you might not even be able to picture. Like, again, it took me rewatches to figure out, why am I so unsettled here? It's because I'm hearing noises of things that don't exist. I'm hearing these either imagined sounds, or I'm hearing sounds that are very real and we just don't know where they are. And that is also terrifying. So just a masterpiece. And I'm glad that you brought it up, because I do try to rewatch that one as often as I can around that time of year. This past year I did it on a very hot day in June and had a very, exciting experience with that as well. So, but yeah, so now I think we'll go ahead and just talk about a couple of movies that we would love to show people. We love to show either, and you can think of some, I'll think of some as well. I have a list, but movies we like to show different crowds of people. And because of our podcast name, because of our goal, is we have our movies we like to show the film bros, or those who are maybe like leaning more into, I want to watch accessible movies. I want to watch movies that entertain, that have some depth, that have some thematic importance. But I don't want to watch something that I'm going to have to sit through and really have to put every ounce of my brain into. They want something to be entertained by, but has storytelling, right? And then we'll do the more pretentious crowd for movies that maybe are in a different language, or are from a different time period, or talk about things that as Americans we don't really implement a lot into our movies, especially not our mainstream ones.
Right.
So, yeah, and also very off topic, but we'll talk about it in our next episode when we do our Oscar discussion. How this year, I want to say there's like 4 foreign films up for Best Picture. Is there only 2? Is just Sentimental Value and Secret Agent?
Yep. Just those 2.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. So there was multiple international directors that made American films. Guillermo del Toro made Frankenstein, American film, national, and Chloe Zhao, Chinese, made Hamlet. Mm-hmm. But that's what I was thinking. There's 4 exclusively international directors that were coming in, and there might be more that I'm not thinking of. But just that's an exciting thing to think about when you're getting to this point of I really do feel like the Academy did a great job recognizing international pictures this year, especially including them in Best Picture. But that's
because those same directors are all up for Best Director too.
Yes.
And you've got four non-American, non-English directors up for Best Director.
Yeah, crazy. So just that's so exciting to see. Um, because especially just because they're good movies too. At least that's how I feel. They're all good movies. I've not seen Secret Agent, but the rest of those foreign ones I have seen. And so, but yes. So moving into our movies we would show other people. Um, I'll start since you left off on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it's actually sitting behind me, and it's one that I don't like adore or love, like think it's the best movie ever made or anything, but I love showing people Sicario. I think because it, in a way, sort of flew under the radar. It wasn't as popular as now Denis Villeneuve films are, like Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, Dune, right? Like now Denis Villeneuve is one of those names, those people that people still mispronounce, but is more household, right? He's getting up there. He's getting that recognition like Christopher Nolan has. And they're seeing he might be a better director than Christopher Nolan. But they're seeing that, wow, okay, this guy can make some movies. And Sicario is a great one because it is entertaining. It is very much one of those like moral thought experiments of who do I agree with here? How far is too far? What should you be willing to do to get the answers you need to protect the people you care about or to avenge the people you've lost? And I usually like to show them because there's two scenes I think about, and without spoiling anything, there's a dinner scene that I love to show people. And there's a scene at the border that I love to show people. And that is a reason why usually most people I show Sicario to, they get to the end of it and they're like, that was good. That was entertaining. That was one of those movies that's like, okay, I had a good time watching that. It's stressful, it's thrilling, but it's entertaining. And it doesn't feel too heavy. You're not like walking away like, weight on your chest, but you are walking away like, oh, okay, so movies can look, sound, and be like that. And it's arguably one of Denis Villeneuve's best directed movies. It might not be his best movie that he's made, but it's one of his best directed, in my opinion, given the way he has to carry the tension throughout this whole movie. And I think he does a stellar job at it.
Yeah. No, I think it is one of Denis' best films. I think it's Emily Blunt's best performance that she gives as the FBI agent in this film. And I remember you got to show this film to me. It was one of the ones that you introduced me to. And walking away from it, it's one of those that it messes with the way you think. It asks the question, how far will you go to get justice? What are you willing to do? How far are you willing to bend the law to find justice? Who are you going to be in the pursuit of justice and of vengeance and of just destroying evil? And it was one of those films that I walked away from and I was like, yep, that one will change you. It'll change the way you think. And I think it's one of Denis' best films. So it's one that is for everybody, but also cannot be for everybody too at the same time, because it is a slower paced film, even though it does have those moments of high action, some of the ones you talked about. But I think it's brilliant. I think it's perfectly directed. I think it's beautifully shot. It's one of the most stunning cinematography films ever made. Of course, it's Roger Deakins. It's going to be. It's one of the most well-acted films. It's a film that even if you don't like those crime-type dramas or those drug-type movies, it's one that you can't miss it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So as I was thinking about films that I love to show people, I don't really get a lot of opportunity to show films to a wide crowd of people, so I can't like test group these films. So I thought more about films that I would love to show people, or films that I was super excited to show my wife, to introduce her to, or films that I would love to show people, that I look forward to showing my kids as they are born and grow and all those kinds of things. So I'll go with you and I'll take a film bro pick. And it's going to be a basic one. So be prepared, basic film bro, but it's going to be anything by Tarantino.
Okay.
I remember the one I was most excited to show my wife, I think because I enjoyed it the most. It's one of my favorites, was Django Unchained. But really, with Tarantino, you can't go wrong. If it's somebody that's just meeting Tarantino and his work for the first time, you should probably start with the Kill Bills.
Yeah.
Because Kill Bill is just Tarantino at his purest, at his most condensed. But anything Kill Bill is a great one that I would love to show people, especially if you haven't seen it. It's a great film to go into. It's got amazing music. I mean, all of his films have amazing music, but Kill Bill is really one where the music is iconic. Inglourious Bastards is another, again, top tier Tarantino to show. And then, like I said, Django Unchained it's one of my favorites. I think it's a great love story, maybe one of the greatest love stories. And I remember that was one that I was really excited to share with my wife for the first time. So anything by Tarantino is a great thing, a great enjoyment to show people. But yeah, my top three ones that I would be most excited to share are easily the Kill Bills, Django Unchained, and Inglourious Bastards.
Yep, all great films. I mean, he is one of those that if somebody comes up to you and they say their favorite director is Tarantino, it might be a red flag. I would say be careful. But if somebody comes up to you and they say, freaking Tarantino can direct some movies, like I like his movies, you can probably mess with them. You can probably be chill with them. They seem cool enough, right? Just be wary of the favorite director being Tarantino. There might be some more things that rise up under that. But yeah, well, now I'm going to jump more into a pretentious, someone I might show where Sicario is like that film bro. This one is still American. It's still in English. So that might be a little bit easier to digest sometimes, but it's Terrence Malick's The Tree of Life. And this would be for someone who I know is going to be more interested in maybe art house films or going to be more interested in feeling a movie kind of wash over them as opposed to needing it to be entirely and wholly intellectual. Because while Tree of Life is an intellectual movie, you can tell even just by the way the camera moves and the way he directed it, it's very much about your soul.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's the really popular story about how when Malick was filming Jessica Chastain's character, she's on the street and this butterfly just lands on her hand. And that obviously wasn't planned. It's not CGI'd. It just happened, right? And it's so perfect for this movie. It's one of those things that makes you feel like this movie really does have something different because it lands on her finger and she's Grace. This butterfly just was drawn to Grace. And it just, you feel it. It's got this warmth to it that is, you can't really express it. And it makes you realize like you might be able to go out and make a movie like Carnival of Souls. You might be able to go out and try to make a movie like Halloween, where it's interesting, it's compelling, but I don't think there's very many people who can sit and make a Tree of Life. And with Tarkovsky being one of my all-time favorite directors, it makes sense why The Tree of Life would be one of my all-time favorite films, if not my all-time favorite film, because he borrows a lot of that Orthodox Christianity and brings it to the forefront of this movie where he explores loss through a lens of, I mean, Job is quoted, right? It shows the creation of the earth, right? It shows the flame representing the Holy Spirit. Like there is so many underlying Christian tones in this movie that it's hard to escape. And as a Christian myself, of course, just intoxicating to watch. It's one of those that it compels every time. And for somebody who hasn't seen it, even if they're not a Christian, a lot of Christians and non-Christians agree it's one of the best films about Christianity. And Emmanuel Lubezki is a cinematographer, and he also did the cinematography for Children of Men, which is a fantastically shot film by Alfonso Cuarón. And he also did the cinematography for the underrated cult classic Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers as the live action title Cat.
Oh, I can't believe you just said that on video.
It's okay. You know what? I said Tree of Life is one of my favorite movies, so I can throw in the Cat in the Hat to sue me. You know, it's like I'm here for a good time too. But yeah, beautiful looking movie, both Cat in the Hat and Tree of Life, but in this, the Tree of Life, and one of those that I would love to show somebody who's willing to watch it. I tell them it's not going to be structurally like a normal movie. It's going to be different. And they're like, okay. And if I get the opportunity to show them, most of the time when I show them, I feel like they can at least appreciate it.
Yeah. You know, that makes sense for that to be one of yours for sure. We've talked about this movie several times and just your affinity for it. And I think I don't even know if you either didn't finish the thought or you slipped to the tongue, but you said Tarkovsky. And I don't know if you meant to say he borrows things from Tarkovsky.
Yes, Malik.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. I was like, I know you know this director, so I don't know if you just
your train of thought borrows from Tarkovsky.
Yeah.
That slow
okay, I'm with you there. Just wanted to clarify that that's what you meant because I thought that's what it was.
Yes, the appreciation for nature, the appreciation for the world, right, and its creation, and it has
and the way that faith is brought into it, the subtlety of faith being brought into the film. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'll take another pretentious film that's also like Tree of Life. It's really accessible. It's made by English filmmakers, but it obviously is in English, and that would be The Red Shoes.
Yeah.
The first time I watched this film, there's a dance sequence at the center of this film. It's about a ballet dancer. It's about this pursuit of either being perfect in ballet or having a perfect love. That tension between dream and passion and dream and passion for a relationship versus a career, and the way that it balances those. And it's like, can you have the career and can you have the love? It's kind of like La La Land, I guess, in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this central ballet, the Red Shoes ballet at the center of the film. And I remember watching this the first time during the whole ballet sequence, which is probably 10, 15 minutes long. My jaw was just a gap. I mean, my mouth was open the whole time. It is one of the most beautiful films that I've ever seen. Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, they really captured something that filmmakers, I don't know if they'll ever capture something quite like it again. This was a movie made in the 1940s, and if you remember that as you watch some of the things that happened in this film, especially in that central ballet, like that's the centerpiece of the film. Obviously, that's the piece that everybody talks about. It's the most remarkable piece of this film, and it is for good reason. But then even the rest of the film, the story that it follows with the dancer and the ballet, the master of the ballet, and then the orchestra leader that the dancer that she falls in love with. Even that story, all three of those characters, to me, it's so compelling that even though the ballet is the center, this drama between these three characters still keeps you in the whole film. And everything about this film is beautiful. It's a Technicolor wonder. The cities and the dresses and the colors. It's not just the center. It's not just the ballet. It's everything about this film is so beautiful, so breathtaking. It's the type of film that we don't really get today. I don't know if it's because we don't. I know it's not because we don't have filmmakers talented enough.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that we've become so technologically advanced that it's so easy to green screen and CGI that we've lost part of the artistry of the practical. And now I sound really like a pretentious snob.
You're talking
but
about
we've lost some of that beauty that in the red shoes that Powell and Pressburger were able to create with their team. So yeah, it's one of those films that even rewatching it and showing it to other people, that the ballet and everything about it, the story, the desire to pursue this one passion with everything in you, that life isn't worth living if you can't fill in the blank. For our central character, it's dancing. There's the line where she's asked, "Why do you want to dance?" And her reply is, "Why do you want to live?" And that's, to me, there's something about that film and that moment and the way that it walks that passion, or that line of pursuing our passions with everything we have, and then the cost sometimes of pursuing said passions. So yeah, the red shoes is one that I love to show people for the dance sequence alone, but also just even for the rest of the story, and for just everything that's tied up in the red shoes. It's one that's really, really fun to watch with other people, especially people who have never seen it before.
Yeah, and that's a great pick. I watched it. I've only seen it once. I definitely should rewatch it. And I know it's one of, actually, if not Martin Scorsese's favorite movie. Whenever he talks about movies, he mentions the red shoes, usually towards the very top. He'll mention some Federico Fellini films as well, but he usually will bring up the red shoes. And so if Martin Scorsese says it's his favorite movie, there might be some weight there. And so
Just a little bit, you think?
just a little bit of weight, right? You would think he probably has an idea of what he's talking about.
Probably
but
so.
yes, so I think that the red shoes is a great pick for you. Great pretentious pick too. For me, the next pick I'll go more film bro. And it's one that I feel like people know about it, but I do think it's more underseen. I don't think enough people have seen this movie. Kind of in the same vein as the red shoes, but an entirely different aesthetic. And that is Inside Llewyn Davis. And that's one of my all-time favorite movies, about this, desire to be great, this desire to be known and perceived and seen for the talent that you possess. And it's Oscar Isaac's best performance, and I think that's hands down. I don't think that there's anything even close to a better performance from him. And so for me, that movie is incredible to show others because you have really good music at the center, either in the film or outside of the film, the soundtrack around it. Are you thinking, Please, Mr. Kennedy?
No, I'm thinking you said really good music for Inside Llewyn Davis, and you said okay music in La La Land, and I'm like, they're on the same team. That's just why I'm laughing. But yes, Please, Mr. Kennedy, that'll make you laugh too.
Yes,
actually, that one popped up on one of my playlists today while I was working, and as I'm working and listening to it in my head, I'm going, oh,
yeah.
The whole time I'm just walking around like a crazy person.
Driver, man.
I'm tracking Adam Driver.
He's so perfect for that role. He's so perfect for that scene. But yeah, I think that movie is one of those that I love showing other people. And I've got to have other people watch it either with me or without me. And it's interesting. Some people come back to me and they're like, bro, why did you show me that? That's so depressing. And I was like, no, it's more hopeful than you think. And they're like, no, it's so depressing. I'm like, it is, but it's also more hopeful than you think. And I think more people do need to see this movie. I think it's the Coen brothers' best movie. And I've seen, I think, 12 of their films. I've not seen all of their films yet. I need to see a few more, but I think it's their best movie. And I think The Big Lebowski is close. I think No Country for Old Men is close. but I think Inside Llewyn Davis is the unsung hero, no pun intended, of the Coen Brothers filmography, and I do believe it is everything it's cracked up to be. And so watch it if you have that. It'd make a good double feature with the Red Shoes, honestly, because you could see the desire from both artists and how they attempt both. And what that looks like in two very different contexts. Because although Llewyn Davis was, filmed in 2012, released in 2013, it takes place in New York in the 60s. And so it's in Red Shoes, I don't remember exactly the time of year that it takes place, but I, in my head, feel like it's a warmer film. And maybe I'm wrong. It is.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it feels warmer. It's
where
much more
Llewyn
spring
Davis feels
summer.
very cold. And so they both would be, I feel like, a very interesting double feature for sure. But yeah. All right, Nolan. So what about you? What's your next Film Bro pick?
Yeah, so I can't remember if we've actually talked about this movie on this channel before or not. I don't think we have. But for my next kind of Film Bro, all accessible film, I'm going to go with Peter Weir's The Truman Show.
Okay.
I just think, again, it's one of those that it kind of balances the pretentious in the Film Bro a little bit.
For sure.
But I think ultimately it leans maybe not to as a Film Bro film, but definitely one that feels more accessible. I mean, you've got Jim Carrey here in the lead as Truman, right? It's hard to get more accessible than Jim Carrey.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And I remember watching this film the first time. This is one that, as I'm talking about it now, again, I think I have talked about it before on this channel, but it's one that I really didn't have crazy high expectations for. When I turned it on the first time, I knew that it was good. I knew that it had a reputation in film circles. So I knew that I was getting something that was going to be quality. But I just remember when the credits rolled the first time after watching this film, my mind was blown. The way that Peter Weir just brings you into this world, right? Because you've got Truman, this titular character, who is the star of his own reality show. And everybody knows it except for Truman.
Yep.
Everybody in this show is an actor or somebody controlling the set or controlling the goings on except for Truman. I mean, his wife is even a actress. She's not real. She's somebody who was brought in to this world to play a role for Truman, but Truman doesn't know that. And the whole film is about Truman realizing what he's in, and the way that Peter Weir captures this world, from the cinematography to the mistakes or the goofs that we see happening all around Truman, and as he starts to piece these things together. It's one of those films that I knew of and I expected to be great, or at least good, but it blew my mind when it was over. The depth of what's happening in the Truman Show, of what's being said, of what's being shown and explored. Yeah, it's one that if somebody hasn't seen, I can't imagine a greater film to say, sit down and watch this and just let it blow your mind. How the magic of this film was created. Because it really was, at the end of the film, it felt magical.
Yeah. No,
it was something really, really special.
Yeah. And I like the Truman Show. I don't have quite the same appreciation for it, I would say, as everyone else, but it is definitely a very accessible film. I think you could show just about anybody and they would find some humor in it, right? And they would find some relatability, and they would find it to be an intriguing story. And I think that that's what Peter Weir, he did that a number of times, if I'm not mistaken, with a number of his films. And so a pretty quiet giant, honestly, in the filmmaking industry. One of those that you might not know it, but he could be a household name. And yeah, no, perfect. I think that's a great pick. My last pretentious pick that I'm going to finish off my movies I would love to show people. um, is one that I had seen for the first time a couple of years ago. I want to say it was like 22, 23. It's an old Korean horror movie, and it is by Kurosawa, but not Akira Kurosawa. It's by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. And that movie is Cure. And it was one that when I first watched it, I thought it was good, maybe left a little bit disappointed, and was feeling a bit underwhelmed, especially by the hype surrounding this film. And I don't think I had a nightmare, but I definitely remember being scared by this movie later. Thinking about certain elements of it, thinking about certain moments that occur where I remember being actually bothered and disturbed when I wasn't watching it. There is a scene, without giving anything away, that I truly thought was one of the scariest scenes I've ever seen in a movie. And a lot of it is due to expression on people's face. A lot of it is due to the framing. That's actually the trick behind this movie, is the dread you feel just by where the camera's placed. Whether it's too close or it's too far away, or you can feel something's presence just off screen. It's so good. And it's one of those that I have got to show a couple of people, and they haven't appreciated it as much as me, which is totally fine. They may not have had that experience later on that I did, but it is one that I feel can't be understated. Ari Aster, when he was in the Criterion Closet in one of those little videos that they make, he had picked up here, and he said that there's an argument to be made that this is the greatest film ever made. And obviously, coming from him, you would know why he would pick a horror film, and one that is quite as unsettling as this one. But the more I think about it, I could 100% see this being the best film ever made. I think there's an argument for it. And not maybe because of everything it says, but because of how effectively it says it.
Yeah.
And that is one that I will highly regard till the end of my days, and one I can't wait to show as many people as I possibly can that are willing to watch it.
Yeah. I'm definitely in the camp of still haven't watched it. But it will end up on my list, and I'm sure one of these days you're actually going to say, all right, it's time, I'm making you watch it.
Yeah, maybe.
That would be fair.
Yeah.
But so you're only giving me one more pretentious pick, which is completely not fair.
With our wealth of knowledge that we have to give to the world, it's hard to narrow down what pretentious pick we get.
Film Bros, a little bit more easier to kind of shrink down, but the pretentious, man, that's where it's just impossible to fill it all.
We're too snobby, man. We're too snobby. So.
We are a little too snobby. But of all the ones that I'm thinking of, and there's many, there's some that I've shown you that I'm like, man, this one would be great. But I would be completely remiss if, as a pretentious film snob, my last pick that I'm given was not an Ingmar Bergman film. So I have to do it. He's one of my absolute favorite directors of all time. He's one of the greats. Inarguably, he's one of the greats. So this is a film I actually have shown multiple people. I remember showing this film to a family I was staying with in the UK. They let me pick the movie for movie night. That was their mistake. And I told them that, all right, well, we're going to go with a rom-com. And I did tell them before, I was like, this is a Swedish film. It's a little different probably than anything you've seen, but it's a rom-com. And that is Smiles of a Summer Night. And I think when this film was over, they were like, that was a romantic comedy? Or what? Are you sure? Are you broken? Because it doesn't feel that way, but It is. It's a romantic comedy of the highest degree. It's all about relationships being misunderstood or coming crisscrossed, or this person loves this person, but that person loves another person, and that person just doesn't think anyone loves them, or they love being on their own, and it's just a mess of tangled relationships. There's this one character in the film who has both a wife and a mistress. And there's this great line that he has, and he says it two different ways. The first time he says something, it's along the lines of, you can gallivant with my wife, but you mess with my mistress, and I become a tiger. And then later on in the film, he scratches it and reverses it. He says, you may gallivant with my mistress, but if you touch my wife, I become a tiger. And that it really sums up what this movie is, of crisscrossed relationships and missed opportunities and just crazy dark humor of trying to play matchmaker between all these people are together, but it should be these two people who are together. And it's just a mess of everything that a rom-com is. It's in this movie, and it's sweetly funny. It's darkly funny. I believe it's the film that catapulted Ingmar Bergman to international status, that really first got him international recognition and fame. And it's my favorite. It hasn't always been my favorite, but upon having watched it a couple times, shown it to a couple different people, I think that Smiles of a Summer Night is, it may not be Bergman's masterpiece because he's made so many, but it is definitely, inarguably, his comedic masterpiece.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a great pick. And you're right. I mean, Film Bros, too, is like, there's a number of movies we could come up with Film Bro movies. There's a number of movies we could come up with pretentious picks. But I think the thing that makes the pretentious picks more hard is because we're not going to be judged as harshly by the Film Bro community as we will the pretentious Film Bro community or pretentious community. And that is what makes it more difficult, because we want to make sure that whatever two movies we pick will at least get some from, because you got the Film Bros who are just dudes and they're like, let's go, Tarantino. And then you say that and you're in the clear, but you say anything that's not, a Bellatar film or, Showa by Claude Lauzon. It's a 9-hour documentary. It's like, if you don't say that, then do you really like pretentious films?
Right.
So yeah, but I think that those are great films for everybody to check out. Obviously, watch at your own discretion. They will have your taste. Obviously, is going to be different from ours. Our taste differs from each other constantly, and so we hope, though, that as you guys think about your favorite rewatches, your favorite movies that you could just turn on at any point, or new movies you want to watch that could become future rewatches, your favorite movie might still be out there, and what a great feeling that is. And so we always, of course, recommend listening to other podcasts like Film Spotting and their sister podcast, The Next Picture Show. And so, Nolan, is there anything else you would like to add as we close here in this at the end of this episode?
I don't believe so. Just we hope that you enjoyed this. We hope that maybe you've got some more films. Again, we do these kind of casual conversations really to have a topical conversation, to sometimes have a break in between maybe some of the more heavy episodes, the longer form discussion episodes or review episodes. But also we do this so we can be able to throw a bunch of movies at you in a short amount of time. A bunch of things that maybe you can go, oh, I haven't heard of that. I want to add that to my watch list. Or maybe it's, oh man, it's been years since I've seen that film. I know even as we were talking, there were movies that both you and I mentioned back and forth that I was like, oh man, it's been a long time since I've seen that. I want to go and I want to turn it on again and get to re-experience it. So we hope that you've found some movies here that either you've never heard of before and maybe you've added them to your list, or you have seen, but it's been a long time and you're like, I got to go back and I got to revisit that. That's really why we kind of have these topical discussions. with you and with one another. So other than that, we hope you stay tuned. Oscar season is coming up. Our next episode is going to be all things Oscars. We're going to kind of breeze through all the categories, but we're really going to, of course, focus in on the best pictures. We'll look at other major categories such as best actor and actress and screenplays, and really just give kind of all our thoughts about the films that are up for the Oscars this year, which ones we think should win, which ones we think will win, where there's discrepancies, the underrated film, the overrated nominees, and you're going to not want to miss it, because we've had even some discussion behind the scenes about some of these films, and we're going to have some hot takes. Not because we're trying to be controversial or clickbaity, but just because film is so subjective. And that's the beauty of it, and that's why we discuss it. But we are going to have some takes that might surprise you, some takes that you might want to cancel us for. But we encourage you to chime in and check it out. We look forward to having the discussion, and we look forward to discussing with you.
Now go rewatch your guys' favorite movies. Have a good one.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
I'm finished.